Now let's talk about class constructors. A constructor in Java is a special method that is used to initialize objects. The constructor is called when an object of a class is created. It can be used to set initial values for object attributes. Constructors can also take parameters, which is used to initialize attributes. Note that the constructor method must match the class name and it cannot have a return type. So let's see an example here. So we have a class vehicle that we saw already that has integer seats, fuel cap, and mpg. We can then have a constructor is a special method that has the same name as the class itself, which can take, for example, 3 integers and can set seats, fuel cap, and mpg accordingly. Alright, so let's see the demo version of it. So instead of creating a car with no parameters and setting them up after, we can actually put them all in the constructor, and then as soon as we create car, it will have car.seats will be 5, car.fuel cap will be 14, and car.mpg will be 30. Same as the we can create a minivan and then pass in 3 arguments as well for seats, fuel cap, and mpg. So let's see this in the example. So here we go. We have our vehicle demo. What I'm going to do is to keep separate copies. I'm gonna save this as vehicle demo. Let's name it 2. And then, so in my vehicle, I'm going to create a constructor vehicle. Again, there are 2 ways you could do constructor. You can, one, have a constructor with no parameters. In that case, you can set up seats either to 0 or some other, default value that you might think is necessary. Fuel cap is say 0 again. So mpg is also 0. So in that case, as soon as you create a car, this value will be set to 0, because this is a way to call the constructor. When we see new vehicle or when we see call to the vehicle, we automatically call the constructor. So you can also have an initial values as well. So let's say I'm gonna assume that always the default class is a car, so I can do 5 seats. Fuel caps would be say 13, and mpg is 29. So what happened here is now I've created a car. I've also created or constructed a minivan. I reset the values for the minivan, but I did not change them for the car. So if I try to do the same thing, or I could say PL, and I can say here's what I want to do. I just want to print these values, okay? Car can carry, so seats, which is car dot seats, plus I can say can carry this many, and I can say car can, or we can say with just put the same thing, with a range of, then I can actually calculate the range right here when I need it. I can say car dot fuel cap times car dot mpg. So let's zoom out a little bit so we can see the whole thing. So just a match car can carry this many passengers, okay, with a range of this. So the difference between this between minivan and car is that I actually specifically changed the values or set the values of the minivan, but for the car I didn't do anything. So I'm going to assume that this default values, which 5 seats, and the range will be 13 times 29. So let's test this. So back to our vehicle 2 demo. So before I do, I want to make sure that I change this one as well. Looks good. Right. So car can carry 5 passengers. Of course, I forgot the space again, with a range of 377 miles. All right. So this is one way you can use a constructor. The other one is actually more useful. You can actually pass this values within the constructor. So I can say integer s for seats, integer f for fuel cap, and integer m for MPG. So what I want to do is seats is set to s, fuel cap is set to f, and MPG is set to m. Okay. Now one problem here, I can't run this anymore. If I try to run this, because since I do have a constructor explicitly defined and I need to call it, we must have the parameters match. So what happens if I compile this? I'll get an error. So because the new vehicle requires 3 integers. So what should I do? What should I do here is if I call car, I need to pass in 5, 13, and 29. And if I call the minivan, I need to pass in 7, 17, and 22. So what that mean also means that I don't have to set them up here anymore. So this is usually a lot better way of creating a new object. Okay, so after this, it should work as expected. Here you go.